I found out my dad's new wife was his mistress during mom's illness. So, I chose peace over his wedding. I'm 25. I've always believed in the importance of family, how they should always have your back, no matter what. But what happens when the family you love, the family you trust, turns on you? That was the reality I faced when my father and his new wife, Qley, decided to put everything I believed into the test. It all started when I was 17 and my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. The news hit us all like a ton of bricks. My mom had always been the center of our family, the person who held everything together. She was the one who made sure we had family dinners every night, who decorated the house for every holiday, who remembered everyone's birthdays and anniversaries. She was the glue that kept us whole, the warmth that made our house a home. But as her illness progressed, I watched as everything began to fall apart. My dad, who had always been a hard worker, seemed to pull away more and more. He spent increasingly long hours at the office, took more business trips than ever before, and was rarely home when we needed him most. I was left to care for my mom with the help of my aunt and grandmother. Those days were brutal. I'd wake up early to help mom with her medication before school, rush home afterward to make sure she had dinner, and spend my evenings sitting with her through the worst of her chemotherapy symptoms. My homework was often done in hospital waiting rooms or at her bedside while she slept. It was hard, but I knew my mom needed me, so I did everything I could to help. I remember one particularly difficult night when mom was too weak to walk to the bathroom. I called dad repeatedly, hoping he could come home early to help, but his phone went straight to voicemail. Later, he claimed he was in an important meeting, but now I wonder if that was true. Was he already with Qley then? The thought makes my stomach turn. When my mom passed away 2 years later, I felt a part of me die with her. I was devastated. I had lost the one person who always knew how to make me feel safe and loved. The house felt emptier than ever, haunted by the echoes of her laughter and the spaces where she used to be. And, to make matters worse, my dad wasn't there, not really. He was physically present sometimes, but emotionally, he might as well have been on another planet. During the funeral, he maintained a stoic facade, accepting condolences with practiced grace, but never really breaking down, never really showing the grief I thought he should feel after losing his wife of 25 years. Now I understand why. He had already moved on, hadn't he? Fast forward to now. I'm working on my master's degree and trying to build a life for myself. One evening, my dad called me into the living room. I had just gotten back from a long day of classes and was exhausted, but he insisted it was important. I found him sitting in his favorite armchair, looking both nervous and excited, an odd combination that immediately put me on edge. "I have something to tell you," he said, his fingers drumming against the armrest. "I've been seeing someone and, well, we're getting married next month." The news hit me like a physical blow. Next month? It seemed impossibly soon. He went on to tell me about Qley, how she was just 2 years younger than him, how she made him happy again. He spoke about her like she was some kind of miracle, and I really tried to be happy for him. After all, shouldn't I want my father to find happiness again? At first, I felt a cautious optimism. Maybe this was good for him, I thought. Maybe he needed someone to help him as he got older. Of course, she could never replace my mom, but perhaps this was a positive step forward. I was living my own life now, had my own apartment, so it wouldn't affect me directly. Or so I naively believed. Then came the wedding preparations. Dad wanted me involved in everything, from cake tastings to venue selections. It was during this time that I received a call from an unknown number. The man on the other end said he had information I needed to hear, something about Qley and my father. He wanted to meet in person. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a cafe near my apartment. He introduced himself as Mark, Qley's ex-husband. What he told me next shattered my world completely. According to Mark, my father and Qley hadn't just recently started dating. They'd been having an affair for years, starting during my mother's final months. He pulled out an envelope full of photographs, my father and Qley at restaurants, hotels, even vacation spots, all time stamped during the period when my mother was dying of cancer. The pictures showed them holding hands, kissing, looking happy and carefree, while back at home, my mother was fighting for her life. One photo in particular caught my eye. It was dated just 3 days after my mother had a particularly brutal round of chemotherapy. I remembered that day clearly because I'd spent it holding her hair back as she vomited continuously for hours. Meanwhile, the photo showed my father and Qley sharing a romantic dinner at an upscale restaurant, champagne glasses raised in a toast. The revelation hit me like a tsunami of betrayal. Every business trip, every late night at the office, every missed family dinner, it had all been lies. While I was taking care of my dying mother, while I was trying to keep our family together, he had been building a new life with someone else. I left the cafe in a daze, the envelope of photos feeling like it weighed 1,000 pounds in my bag. I spent the next few days in a fog of anger and disbelief, barely eating or sleeping. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to confront him. I drove to his house one evening, the envelope of photos clutched in my white-knuckled grip. When he opened the door, he must have seen something in my face because his smile immediately faded. "We need to talk," I said, my voice trembling with barely contained rage. "Now!" He led me to the living room, the same room where he'd told me about his engagement, the same room where we'd spent countless evenings with Mom before she got sick. I pulled out the photos and spread them across the coffee table, watching as the color drained from his face. "How long?" I demanded. "How long were you seeing her while Mom was dying?" He stammered, tried to deflect, but I wouldn't let him. "Don't lie to me," I spat. "Not anymore. I want the truth. Every single detail." Finally, he broke. "It started about 8 months before your mother passed," he admitted, his voice quiet. "I was struggling with everything: your mother's illness, the pressure at work, the mounting medical bills. She was an escape." An escape? I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Mom was dying, Dad. I was 17, taking care of her while you were out living a double life. Do you have any idea what that did to me? Do you even care?" "Of course I care," he protested. "I loved your mother, I did. But watching her slip away, I couldn't handle it. Qley helped me cope." "Cope?" I laughed bitterly. "Is that what you call it? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you abandoned us when we needed you most. You left me alone to watch Mom die while you were starting a new life with your mistress." He tried to reach for my hand, but I jerked away. "I never meant to hurt you," he said. "I was weak. I made mistakes. But Qley and we love each other. Can't you try to understand?" "Understand?" I stood up, shaking with anger. "Understand what?" "That while I was helping Mom to the bathroom, holding her while she cried, watching her waste away, you were having romantic dinners with Qley. That while Mom was fighting for her life, you were planning your future with someone else?" "No, Dad. I don't understand that at all." Then came the wedding invitation, elaborate and expensive, with its gold lettering and personal message from Dad. "We hope you'll be there to celebrate our special day." The sight of it made me physically ill. How dare they expect me to celebrate their relationship, knowing how it began? I decided then and there that I would not attend his wedding. Instead of witnessing their celebration of betrayal, I spent that day at the lake in the park, my mom's favorite place. She used to take me there for picnics when I was young, and later, on good days during her illness, we'd sit on a bench and watch the ducks, pretending everything was normal. The calls and messages started flooding in almost immediately. Family members I hadn't heard from in months suddenly had plenty to say. They called me childish, selfish, told me I was tearing the family apart. My dad's brothers, aunts, cousins, they all reached out, pleading with me to reconsider. I couldn't stay silent anymore. I composed a lengthy message detailing everything: the affair, Dad's absence during Mom's illness, the years of lies, and sent it to every family member who had tried to guilt me into attending the wedding. Then I blocked them all. I couldn't bear to hear any more excuses or manipulation. The fallout was nuclear. My aunt's fiancé showed up at my door weeks later to tell me that my message had caused chaos in the family. Several relatives had pulled out of the wedding, disgusted by the truth. Qley had apparently had a meltdown, accusing me of deliberately trying to ruin her special day. The irony of her complaint wasn't lost on me. She had helped ruin the last months I had with my mother, after all. Months have passed since then, and I've maintained my distance from the family. I started therapy to deal with the trauma of not only losing my mother, but also discovering my father's betrayal. It hasn't been easy, but I know I made the right choice. Sometimes, protecting yourself means walking away from toxic relationships, even when those relationships are with family. I've learned that family isn't just about blood ties. It's about trust, respect, and being there for each other when it matters most. My father broke that trust, and no amount of guilt tripping from relatives can make me forget what he did. Some betrayals cut too deep to forgive, and some wounds take more than time to heal. Now, when I visit my mother's grave, I tell her everything. I apologize for not seeing the truth sooner, for not being able to protect her from Dad's betrayal. But I also tell her about my life, my studies, my hopes for the future. And sometimes, when the wind rustles through the trees just right, I can almost hear her telling me that she's proud of me for standing up for what I believe in. I don't know what the future holds, or if I'll ever be able to forgive my father. But I do know that I'm stronger now, more aware of my own worth and the importance of maintaining my principles, even when it means standing alone. Sometimes the hardest decisions we make are the ones that help us grow the most. Thank you so much for listening to my story. If you have any thoughts, I'd love to hear them, so please leave a comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want more stories like this one.